right, welcome everybody. My name is Xexor. Thanks for joining me. This is an interview that I've managed to arrange with Tripleslash Studios. On the phone, on the Skype call, we've got Paige Ashland, who's the CEO and programmer at Tripleslash. And then we have Becky Pennock, who is lead artist. So, Paige, Becky, welcome. Thank you for being willing to meet with me today and interview. I guess what I want to start out with is maybe do you guys maybe want to kind of explain kind of a summary of the game, kind of what the general idea is. That might help people kind of segue into the questions I'm asking. They'll better understand where the questions are coming from and so on.
Sure. Did you want to?
Yeah, you go for it.
All right. So our game is called Magnetic by Nature, and it's a 2D puzzle platform game. It's physics-based, but the focus is not so much on moving objects around as it is on propelling yourself through 2D space using magnetic fields. So it's there's no combat or anything, but it is very fast-paced.
Yeah, definitely. And you guys generously gave me an advanced copy of it so I could play around a bit with it and get used to the controls and so on. And it really is. You have some places where you effectively using the physics of magnetics, you have to swing yourself around under a ledge to grab items, and there's no way to progress unless you manage to. In one place there were two repelling magnets, and you had to get right in the center of them to have the power from both of them to give you enough lift to move on. So it's very, very, very cleverly done.
Thank you.
No, seriously, it's a really good game. And you guys recently were greenlit on Steam, if I'm not mistaken, right? Not too long ago, like in the last few months.
Yeah, just it was like a month ago.
Just about.
Just one month ago. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Now, before I get into the other questions I have, I'd like to know, how do I win, and is there a Mad Cow level? They're not? No? So none of that? No?
There was until you mentioned that. No.
Like robot cow.
Relevant for another month.
There's no combat, so I'm not sure how that would work, but maybe he repels you when you're trying to get some. I don't know. That'd be interesting. It's probably not so much. Okay, now I noticed the art style, Becky. This is for you. So I noticed the art style is kind of, and I don't mean this in any offensive way, just kind of artistically, it felt kind of dark and stoic. Is there kind of a general dark theme you're going for, like a feel like things are maybe emotionless and it's just going about your routine, there's no real humanity left in the world, or what's going on with that?
So we've got a number of different environments to the game, and they vary from the very first, where you wake up, where your little robot wakes up. It is lonely, and it is sort of a drippy cave. Other environments, as you progress through the game, are lighter and have more going on as far as implying civilizations of different kinds. And really, the point of the environments are to make you feel something. And what the story basically is that you are the last robot that is basically still active. There was a catastrophe in the distant past, and the other robots were deactivated, but you, through your magnet awesomeness, were only temporarily temporarily shut down. And so now you're the last one, and you are trying to revive your friends. They're out of power, so you are gathering energy from these little energy flowers. And so it does start in a lonely place, and it does start in sort of a stoic feeling place. But as you progress through the game, you wake up more of your robot buddies. And rather than just having a traditional style menu to access the different zones of this game, you actually see your friends. So you beat Zone 1, you see your friend wake up because you've beat the zone. And so that hub zone, so to speak, starts off lonely. But because nothing else is really moving, you see these deactivated robots. But as you progress through the game, it comes to life.
Nice. Yeah, and that actually was another question I was going to have. So that's awesome. I wasn't sure, plot-wise, really what was going on. Obviously, it's an early access demo, so you don't have a lot of the plot details there. And so I kind of expected there might be more to it, but I wasn't sure where you were going with it. So that's awesome. It's sort of like a video game version of a certain Pixar film, except not exactly the same, but kind of. Yeah, okay. That's cool. That's awesome.
Nobody's ever said that before, but now that you say that, There's definitely some similarities.
Am I thinking of the right Pixar film?
I think you probably are.
I maybe you can discuss later. I'm not sure what I can and can't copyright-wise and like branding-wise say, but you know what I'm talking about, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That's awesome. No, it's really cool. I noticed a lot of, like you said, there are some levels that are brighter and darker too. Like, there were just on the screen where you get into a level, there were different color themes. So like Rhapsody in Blues, clearly, obviously blue does kind of the theme for that. But you had, Modern Times was a little, more kind of, I don't even remember exactly. Was it like a dark red or something kind of?
Like peach and peach. Like, okay, so you've got sort of the pinkish. You've got pinkish and yellow, and a darker pink tinted red for the foreground.
Right, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, and every single one of our zones kind of follows a pattern that the background is going to be the sort of colorful place that gives you a sense of atmosphere, and the foreground's a little bit darker. We didn't push it as far as Limbo goes. Limbo's like a really good example of this thrown to the extreme where the background is straight up black, but we're following that same pattern that the foreground's going to be a little bit darker just for readability, so you can read the puzzles easily.
Well, and honestly, if you're in a place called Limbo, I don't know really how, colorful somewhere like that's going to be, right?
Yeah.
Typically, Limbo is like some in-between dimension thing, doesn't really have any color, at least in any sci-fi stuff I've ever seen. So, so that's awesome. Thanks for that. Let's see. Now, okay, I guess that question was answered. Now, is anyone at Tripleslash an actual physicist, or did you consult physics books or a physician somewhere? Or physician is not physician. Physicist, doctor for
physician.
Yeah, exactly.
So we do have, what's the term? Electrical and computer engineer, but no physicist. An interesting story, actually, is that when we started out, we had a very physically realistic model for the magnetism. It was actually based on the magnetic properties of steel. But after playtesting, it became clear that real magnets didn't work the way we wanted the game to work. So over a series of iterations, it's progressively become less and less realistic. So the game as it plays right now really, I mean, it is pushing and pulling, but other than that, it's not really magnetism.
It's like an abstract idea.
Yes,
it's like a concept of magnetism,
right,
being terribly literal.
Right, and I did notice in some places that it worked a little differently than I expected for a magnet, but there are some things, not just the attraction and repulsion, but also distance. If you get outside of a certain range, even if you're still technically you've got the magnetic pull, it may be too far and your weight would pull you out of the magnetic force, for instance. So there is some of that. So that's really cool. Let's see. Now, are there like unlockables or achievements? And you're going to be on Steam or through Steam now, so are there going to be achievements, maybe unlockable characters or areas or any of that kind of stuff, other than the basic that you see when you're in Limbo, the different places you could go?
So there's a couple of different things that exist right now. There's the main game, like the sort of story mode, as it were, is comprised of 4 different zones that you go through, and if you beat all 4 of them, then it unlocks like a 5th, like super challenging zone.
Was that the Shrine of the Speedrunner?
No, that's it.
Oh, that's one of the 4. Okay.
But no, that's actually not. That's another unlockable thing.
Okay.
So there's a 5th zone that's just like a series of really difficult levels. But one of the things that we had aimed for kind of from the beginning is that we wanted the game to be very speedrunner friendly. So a lot of the levels are designed, well, actually all of the levels are designed so that there's more than one way through them. There's like the obvious, easier way, and then there's like a faster but harder to do way. And so the Shrine of the Speedrunner is a place where you can like play the game in kind of a stripped down version, where instead of like going back to the hub and having to deal with intermediary menus, you just go from one level to the next, and it has like a on-screen timer to show you how fast you're going. And then there's a few other unlockables, like there's 4 like hidden bonus levels in each of the main zones. There's various collectible items, and if you get 100% of the collectibles, then you get an unlockable skin. For Steam, we're also going to do achievements, but to be quite honest with you, we've barely started on that. And we have been talking with some other game developers about maybe doing some kind of like cross-promotion thing with like unlockable characters from other games, but that's early days still, so I'm not sure if that'll actually happen or not.
Okay, well that's cool. No, I was just kind of curious about it. I mean, being on Steam, you know, not all games do, but a lot of games have the achievements, so I wasn't sure if
we feel like our game would be a real good match for that. It's just we only got greenlit a short time ago, so
sure.
Yeah.
You have to think of what specific achievements you want, for example. And so yeah.
Yeah, and the point of the speedrunner shrine may not have been immediately obvious in the version that you played, because we have just in the last couple of weeks completely overhauled the hub world, overhauled all of the UI. So that will be a lot clearer to the player when they play, so that they don't, need explanation.
Well, might I suggest, as you're thinking of things to unlock, maybe you have an optional character that, say, wears an obscure hat YouTuber who maybe interviews about your game as an unlockable character. And just a thought, just, kind of mull it over and see.
Write that down. Yeah. All right, we're good.
Crap, it's never happening. Okay, so do you have, and it may be way early to ask this too, do you have any kind of like an estimated or goal release date you're thinking? Like EOY or anything? Or
specifically for Steam or?
Well, you have now over at the Salt Lake City Comic Con, they had a booth where you're playing on Xbox. Was it 360 or was it the one? I can't remember.
They were using Xbox 360 controllers, but
but it was on a PC.
The Windows version of the game.
Okay. Okay. So are you going to? I guess first of all, are you going to have multi-platforms, or is it just going to be Steam with the controller as an option? And then I guess secondly, are you going to be doing all those release all at the same time, or are you going to release them in segments and maybe like PC version comes first and then maybe a couple months later or a few months later the Xbox 360 version or whatever?
That's a good question. So it's definitely going to be multi-platform, and we're definitely not releasing them all at once because we just don't have the person power. But we are going to be releasing for the Ouya first, actually, because we were already into that process at the time that we got greenlit. And then Steam is going to come next. We're hoping that when we release on Steam, we'll do Windows, Mac, and Linux all at the same time, but that remains to be seen. We're definitely going to do all three of those platforms eventually. And then we would really like to be on the next-gen consoles, Xbox One, PS4, and even the Wii U. But that's further down the road.
In progress. Progress bars.
Right. No. That's fabulous. I get from time to time. So I have a gaming channel on YouTube, and so this kind of will go on that channel because it kind of fits in, obviously. But and as I play through various games from time to time, I'll get somebody asking, is this out for PS4 or is this just on Steam or on Steam at all or whatever. So I kind of figure this way maybe you guys can get the word out. These are coming, even though maybe they're not out yet or whatever.
Yeah,
so
totally.
Let's see. Are you gonna maybe down the road allow any kind of I don't know, maybe like player designed levels to add to or anything as you go along? I know there might be. I'm guessing there are going to be a lot of people chomping at the bit wanting to design their own levels, but that's not necessarily something you want to allow in the game. So I'm not sure if that's in the plans or anything.
You go for it.
Okay, so that's another thing that we've talked about, like, almost literally from day one, and it's something we really, really want to do, but it's going to take a significant amount of work, so we're not making any promises quite yet. The main thing that we have to overcome is we need a really polished level editor. And right now we have a level editor, and it is very not polished.
Yeah. So making it workable for the public would be a production in and of itself.
Exactly. And we'd like to do it. It's just going to be a question of time and resources and what it looks like. I mean, one thing that would help if the game does well and everyone is like, "Oh my gosh, I want to make levels," then that pushes it up our priority list.
Absolutely.
Right.
But we'll see.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, I'm just pretty sure there's going to be somebody that's going to be like, has this really maniacal design they want to get out there. And so maybe as a DLC or something after the fact, maybe you have just the DLC is pretty much the first DLC or something is just a level editor. Now you can design your own levels or something. Or I don't know. Okay, that's cool though. That's good that you just talked about that from the beginning. So that's at least something that's been kind of getting mulled around. So excellent. Let's see. Now, does every level you have the flowers that you're trying to gather? Does every level within a world have a flower you're supposed to acquire? Or I notice there's a percentage indicator. So, and each time you gather one, it ups the percentage by 1. So are there 100 levels in each world and you have to get a flower in every level? Or are there more than 100 and so sometimes you miss a flower, it's not a big deal? Or how does that work?
There's a flower for every level, and so we've got 5 zones if you count the bonus, like, super hard zone. And each zone has, is it 24 or 25?
25.
25 levels in each. And so you have to get 25 flowers in order to beat Zone 1 to unlock Zone 2. So you can't skip getting any of the flowers. So they're absolutely mandatory. There are collectibles within the levels that you can skip, and that has its own statistic as well. I'm not sure if that was reflected in the UI of the game that you played, but it's definitely in the one that we have now. So, so there's going to be at least 125, and then we're also going to come out with 2 DLC packs in the future that will have a certain number of levels in each of those as well. So,
okay, awesome. Let's see. I think we're almost done. Don't know. Yeah, I don't really know if I have any other questions. It's looking really, really slick so far. I mean, obviously it's early stage, so there's still some polishing that you guys are going to do and so on, but it looks really good. The mechanics are really excellent in a close to rage quit kind of a way in some places, so it's very good. Very good, very challenging, very nice. So for all you guys who are watching this interview, it's Magnetic by Nature. It's by Tripleslash Studios. Thank you very much, Paige and Becky, for chatting with me today. And you guys can check it out on Steam when it releases, on Ouya if you're keeping tabs through that. You can get it through that for that console. And look for it in the future on other consoles as they're able to make it available. Thanks, everybody, and I will see you. Thank you, Paige, and thank you, Becky, once again.
Thank you very much. It was awesome.